Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars universe seems to be quite expansive, not just with their books, novels, comics, and video games, but also, let's not forget about the new Star Wars TV shows, the new Star Wars movies that are currently in development by, of course, creators out there like George, John, Dave, and others coming on board of the Star Wars universe as a whole. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, I am on Twitter at Mike01 if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow on there. I do post a couple of entertaining things from time to time and really make sure to interact with you guys further. So it's even all the more exciting right now is that, yes, we are getting very close to not only the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, but also to other shows out there like Star Wars Andor, The Bad Batch Season 2, and The Mandalorian Season 3. So those are going to be the big 4 TV shows remaining for this year. We got Kenobi, we've got, of course, Mando, we've got Bad Batch, and Andor. And then 2023 is really going to give the fans a broader, space of Star Wars material to really expand and to really kind of give you a bit of a tease of what's to come in the next couple of years throughout 2024 and 2025, etc. So on top of all of this, what's even all the more intriguing has everything to do with actress Gina Carano. Now, we already know that ever since February of 2021, when she was fired by Kathleen Kennedy in such an improper way, in a very unprofessional way, I must add, we have seen a lot of changes within the Star Wars fandom. Ever since that happened, a lot of fans left Disney+, they unsubscribed from Disney+, and they just said goodbye to Star Wars for a while. And now you can see that George, John, and Dave are slowly reeling those fans back in by providing them with projects that are very true to Star Wars legends. And one of the big ones, is going to be Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi, because they're going to be borrowing a lot of elements from the Kenobi stories from Star Wars Legends material, and also taking aspects from the already existing canon material by Disney. We're talking about the books, the comics, etc. So on top of all of this, what's really intriguing is exactly what Gina Carano had to say about creator George Lucas. Now, given that both John and Dave are getting ready to begin filming the Ahsoka Tano series by this April, they are getting ready to end filming for The Mandalorian Season 3 that is set to be around, of course, the last week of March. Now, it's noted, however, that behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm, many changes have been applied to many projects to balance the Star Wars roadmap. However, in a recent interview with actress Gina Carano, she went on to admit the truth about creator George Lucas. Gina went on to state that when I was on set for both The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2, one thing that I would always notice from the creators, and I am not talking about John and Dave, those two are sweethearts, she says. I am talking about all of the visual artists, all of the concept artists and such, that were working closely with Kathleen Kennedy at the time in the beginning, that they had wanted to shift completely away from George Lucas's vision of what George had asked for Disney to do with the Mandalorian series. Given that this was our first Star Wars TV show in live action, Lucas specifically was very concerned about how the first show in history that was live would be presented to fans. I can tell everyone with great confidence, sadly, that there were many employees over at Lucasfilm that really tried hard to get rid of Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano's cameos in The Mandalorian Season 2. Now, let me just stop right here for 1 second. Now, obviously, this is something that isn't really all that big of a surprise by a lot of Lucasfilm employees. We do know that George Lucas really actually helped a lot with George, John, and Dave as a whole. George Lucas was a part of that trio, and working on, of course, Mando Season 2, and working on the Ahsoka Tano series as well. Now, he's a very busy man. He's doing a lot of things with John and Dave to really get the ball rolling with this new universe. But the fact that, yes, he was involved with the scenes with Luke and Ahsoka Tano in the Mandalorian series, and how the Disney employees, the Lucasfilm employees, etc., wanted nothing to do with Lucas at all because he was actually involved with those scenes. It really does shed a light more on exactly how they're actually thinking about Lucas as a person. Now, on top of this, given that the scenes that involved those two loved characters were partially supervised by Lucas, Gina says, and how he directed some of the shots, and how certain things should be done, after Lucas had left the set at the time, so many, and I mean so many at Lucasfilm, kept pushing and pushing to delete the scenes. that Lucas was even remotely involved with. It was actually quite sad to see the reality that all of these new Lucasfilm employees just don't have their hearts in George. I mean, George is like this big teddy bear. He is so lovable and fun on set, and just brings this sunshine of positivity to everybody. Now, I gotta agree with Gina Carano on this, is that George Lucas does really do just that. He does actually have this sense of positivity when it comes to Star Wars. Whenever you see him, whenever you actually are sensing his presence, you know, whether it's watching him on stage or him joining over at Star Wars Celebration, there's something so nostalgic, something so special about his appearance, that it really just brings you back to the original trilogy, back to the prequel trilogy, and how Star Wars was at the time, well, really Star Wars, you know? We've lost our way, I think, that in the sequel trilogy, it didn't necessarily feel like Star Wars at its heart, in its spirit. It didn't really feel like that. There was something missing, you know, there was something out of place. And that's exactly what George was able to fill in with the Mandalorian series, and of course with the Book of Boba Fett, helping John and Dave Filoni, with of course all the Luke and Ahsoka scenes, etc. So on top of all of this, alright, this is where things begin to really pick up a little bit, is that she goes on to state that Kathleen Kennedy at the time just did not agree with anything Lucas wanted to do, nor did the handful of Lucasfilm employees. I can't name names, but all I know right now is that we were so close, and I mean very close, to losing all of that footage of Luke and Ahsoka because of how Kathleen Kennedy seems to have these problems with George. For some reason, I don't know. But I am glad that I still love talking to John and Dave. We have some pretty exciting things to tell you guys in the near future that will excite everybody. So this is something interesting because it really does kind of shed more light on exactly how many of the Lucasfilm employees actually look at George Lucas as a person. Now we're talking more so about these new employees, alright? These new creators, these new artists, whatever, that work very closely or worked very closely with Kathleen Kennedy at the time, and really wanted nothing to do with George. You know, they really did not have their hearts in George at all. And it just goes to show you that there's not only a division between the Star Wars fandom, but there is indeed a division over at Lucasfilm as a company. You have the old school, you know, employees that were there from the very beginning, that were there with George at the time of the prequels and more, even with the original trilogy. And you have all of these other newer ones that are more sided with Kathleen Kennedy. And you can see how there's two different visions of Star Wars colliding, and that's exactly what the problem is. So obviously, Lucasfilm as a company really needs to clean house. There really has to be a lot of work done at that place. And I think that Gina really makes a great point that whenever you have somebody like Kathleen Kennedy, they're going to do whatever they have to do to move on with their overall vision, with their overall stance on Star Wars, and that's exactly what she's doing, by the way, with the Ahsoka Tano, or should I say the Acolyte series, for the Acolyte series, with Leslye Headland. Alright, so that's basically Kathleen Kennedy's TV show. It's her way or the highway type of situation, and we'll have to wait and see exactly how that turns out. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon.